Good morning, all. So, this session we're going to see about what are the different styles of food and beverage service practices which has been followed in hotels. So, this is going to involve. I'll just brief you about what are the session is all going to be. So, this session involves about different kind of service styles which is in opted in different kind of hotels and restaurants, and we're going to see little more in deeply about why these kind of styles is adopted because service plays a very important and vital role in providing guest customer satisfaction. So it is pretty much very much important for people to understand this and select your service style according to the outlet whatever you plan. So that is what we're going to see little more in deeply in this session. So like let us start out with this session. So what is meant by what is different styles of service or what are the types of service? Basically we're going to deal here with two different things. See, every outlet is different from one another. Okay, there may be an outlet where they provide a proper silver service, but this cannot be feasible in a very popular restaurant. A popular restaurant where you are supposed to cater to many people at a given point of time, so you cannot practice something which is called as a silver service there. It is not something which is going to be applicable for you. So you should understand the difference here, and this is what we're going to learn in this chapter. So, as far as service is concerned, there are many ways in which food and beverage are served to customer in the catering industry. This may range from full silver service in a fine dine restaurant, where the dishes are served at the table by waiters with service spoon and fork, to a self-service cafeteria where the guest collects their food on their own. So this drastically differs from a person who's been seated there, where like now a waiter will come and like now provide them whatever the food and beverage which is required to them properly in a silver service using a spoon and fork with the manipulation of spoon and fork and serve them, to entirely doing it the other way around where like no guest goes, he pays the food, pays the money or a coupon for the food whatever he requires, he collect it by himself, and sometimes he also clears the cutlery or a plate also. So there is a drastic difference between what a customer expects in a different kind of places. So we should understand that for that this is very helpful. What kind of services are available? What kind of services will suit for different kind of areas? So that is what we're going to see today. So first starting off, we're going to see something which is called as a table service, and second thing is about assisted service. Third thing is self-service. Fourth one is single point service, and the fifth one is and the final one is basically what we call as a specialized service. So that is what we're going to see today. We'll start off with what is a called as a table service. So as it mentions, the customer is served at the late table. So table service is something where a guest is seated at a table and a waiter comes and serves all his meals to the guest. This is what we basically call as a table service. Okay, the second one is all about a self service where the customer requires to collect all their foods. Okay, for example, like a buffet is a very good example. Okay, there are two types of buffet. I'll just come to that little more later. So if you consider this in a buffet, basically you collect whatever food what you require. There might be some chances where there'll be some kind of table will be provided for you to sit and eat. Sometimes it may not happen also. So here the service is going to be done by yourself as a guest. Like now you're going to pick up your own food whatever is required, you're going to pick up your plate. There may be cutleries which will be placed in the counter, and finally you will be finishing off the food also. Like no, my sometimes you may have to clear it off in some places, or else there'll be a person to clear that off. Okay, this is the second one. The third one is basically what we have as an assisted service. So it's basically a combination of both, which is basically a table service as well as what you have it as a self service. So in this, some of the food items you can collect it by yourself, and rest all food items will be served by a waiter who will be stationed or like who will be working in this outlet. So that is what we call it as an assisted service. It's the combination of both self service as well as an assisted. A very good example for that is basically a buffet in a hotel, especially if you go to a 5-star hotel, you're going to have a buffet. Yes, there'll be like you can go and collect whatever food what you require, but still also there is always an opportunity for a guest to go and pick up their food which is required, as well as there'll be waiters who will be available, who will be refilling you water, who will be able to assist you and help you in serving the food whatever is required. Maybe like you want some maybe a pancake or something, that they'll be able to come pick it up the pancakes and serve it to you. Maybe you want tea or coffee, yes, they'll be definitely going to pick up tea or coffee and serve it to you at their table. So this is what we call as an assisted service. And the third thing is basically what we call a single point service. So the term itself means what it is, where you basically go to a single point where you pay the price or a coupon and collect your food and serve yourself. This is what we call it as a single point service. The customer orders, pays and receives the food and beverage from a, for instance, in a counter, at a bar, in a restaurant premises, in a fast food operation, or at a vending machine. So this is what we basically deal with single point service. You go to one single counter, you pay your money, you pick up whatever food is required, and you are going to pick up your own food and going to eat by yourself. So this is what we call it as a, basically like we call it as a single point service. And the final rule is basically what we call it as a specialized service. What is specialized service? See, normally, like you take any of this previous things, what we have seen, maybe a self-service, maybe an assisted service, whatever it is, you can find it out that pretty much everything will be provided there, where like you're supposed to go to the outlet and have it. But this is an entirely different. That is why it is called as a specialized form of service. So you're going to serve food and beverage to people who are might be there in a room, there would be like, sitting there in an airplane, or else might be a person who's hospitalized, where you're supposed to serve the food or beverage to their room. So this is what we call as a specialized form of service. The food and drink is taken to where the customer is. See, normally in other forms of services, guests will come to you, he'll come to your restaurant, you'll come to your outlet, and to have to utilize all your services. But if you see that here, basically what he happens is like, no, this is basically like, no, it's going to give you an idea about like how much of time a guest is going to consume here. So here in this specialized form of service, you want to go to a place where the guest is there, and you're going to serve your food and beverages. This is what we call it as an specialized forms of services, especially like no, maybe in flight catering, maybe serving food or beverages in hospitals, maybe using your trolley service. All these, maybe even like no, your takeaways. Okay, all these things can be considered, your room service especially. All these things can be considered as an example for a specialized form of services. Yes. So this is basically an PPT which will give you an overview about, say like no, what is the assumption of basic consumption of food. How long does a guest takes to consume a food? See, from this itself you will have a very good idea and example. How long does a person spends for having his meal? For example, if it's going to be a fine dine restaurant, he's going to take around like 1 hour to 2 hours. So you are supposed to provide them somewhere like no, which is considered to be a very specialized form of service. So this will give you an idea like no, how much time a guest will spend, and how much of what level of service you're supposed to provide. Yes, a person who's going to spend 1 hour or 2 hours in a restaurant definitely will prefer to have a very highest standard of service. In the other way around, at the last, we see the fast food outlets, he is going to hardly spend 20 or 30 minutes, like 10 to 20 minutes he's going to spend he having his food. So you don't want to provide something which is called as an elaborate service. In this aspect, it is better to provide them with fast and efficient service instead of a service which is going to be very personalized. So you should understand this, so that it gives you an understanding about what a guest is required, because different outlets require different kind of service styles. Okay, moving on forward. Okay, let us see like what are the different styles of services which is there, so that this also gives you a very better idea about what are table services. Okay, first thing is in table services, again you have different styles. We'll see one by one what are the styles which we have. Excuse me. First thing is an English service. Presentation and service of food by waiting staff using a spoon and fork onto a customer plate from food plats or dishes. It is also known as silver service. So basically, silver service or English service is basically providing a food from a platter to a plate. Every dish, whatever a guest orders, is going to come in a platter. A waiter is going to use a spoon and fork or any cutleries to serve the dish to the guest plates itself. So that is what we call as an English service. The second one is called as family service. Main course plated with vegetables placed in multiple potent dishes on tables for customers to help themselves. Sources of it separately. This is again we can call it as something like no, where this kind of style of service, it is almost like a family service where the main course is neatly packed, dressed and packed in center of the corridor. All the accompaniment is there provided for you. You can choose whatever is required. Third one is plated and American style of service. This is the style of service which is being adopted every place these days because of this utilization of your phones. Okay, now like no taking photographs and posting it in all the social media has become a big thing. Even higher end establishments, okay, like fine dine restaurants have started using this style of service because it is easy to operate and it is also easy to serve the guest also. Okay, so it is something like you don't want a very skilled service staff for doing this pre-plated service. Again, the food is supposed to look very beautiful. It is supposed to be plated brilliantly and served to the guest. And this is the kind of style like which has been adopted there because like no nowadays even your guests or customers can promote your business by putting it in social medias. So this has become a big tool. So like people prefer to use this as a tool for promoting their business also. Third and the next one is French or butler service, where we'll be handling about different kind of food items, and it will be present to individually to a guest. Okay, and a customer can serve themselves, right? So this is the kind of service which has been not used much lately. Okay, so this is something like no which has been used by Indian restaurants mainly. Okay, what we do is like now for example like now you go to an Indian restaurant, you order for something like a roti and a gravy. So automatically what a waiter does is he'll come place it in your table so that you can help yourself. Okay, so this is something which is related to an Indian service, an Indian food especially. The next one is basically what we call it as a Russian service. Okay, this is basically something where we deal with something like a guide on a butler service. So much of importance is given to the guest. Okay, it is again something like now which is almost related to a French service where like now food is presented neatly on a table for a guest to help themselves, right? So this is one more style which has been adopted, and the final thing is which is what we call as a Garidian service. What is a Garidian service? Guardian service is something which we deal with serving of food and beverages in front of the guest. Okay, a trolley will be made, it will be taken to a guest table where food and beverage food will be prepared in the front of a guest and it will be served to a guest. So this is again like something where it is going to be a very fine dine restaurant. Again, the kind of skill sets what a waiter or a steward is required is going to be very higher level to prepare the food in front of the guest and serve them. So moving further, Asset service, as I've told you this, it's a combination of both. It is half of it like it will be served by your customer. Sorry, will be taken care by the guest itself, and the other half will be served by a waiter. Examples are Kavari and buffet. Buffet would have known it pretty much clearly. Kavari is something which is not very famous in India. It is little famous in abroad countries where meat will be carved and served to you. So you can meat will be served by a waiter to you. All the other dishes like accompaniments you can collect it by yourself. And one more very good example is basically a complimentary buffet in a five-star hotel where like now if you've been provided a complimentary breakfast, so like you can pick up whatever food you require by yourself also, and there'll be waiters to assist you also if you require anything else. Okay, and third one, you would have known that basically like no your self service where you pay your own pay your money, collect your food and take it to a place where there might be some places like where they'll be providing a space for you to sit and eat. Some other places you may not have that. Okay, this is what we call it as a self-service counter. Some of the examples are counters, cafeteria counters, free flow. Echelon is nothing but you will be having all the counters in the angle so that like you can cater to many people at a given point of time. Supermarkets is one more good example for that. Takeaways, your parcel services, what you have, it's a very good example for silver service. Drive-throughs. So this is again is a concept which is very famous in countries like US, where you go into a lane where you can order in one place You take a U-turn, come back, and your food will be ready. You can pick up the food and you can move away. Where you can pay for your food and move away. It's not something which is very famous in India again. And finally, the fast foods. Basically, the term fast food means like you're supposed to serve your guests little more faster. That is what all about it means. Next one is self-serving vending machines. Something which is very famous in places like Japan and China, where even like cooked food has been put in a vending machine. Vending machine is nothing but like you put a coupon or a coin where and select your what kind of food has been displayed. You will get it out. Okay, kiosk is something like which you put up for example like if you're going to have a concert. So like for that like there'll be so much of people and members will be coming in. So to cater to such kind of people, if you're going to put up a stall, that is what we call it as a kiosk. Okay. The next one is food courts. You would have seen it in different malls. So like no, it's basically a place where you'll have different restaurants to select from, and there'll be a place for to sit and eat also. This is what we call as food court. And finally a bar or a permit room. Where they serve you all your alcoholic as well as non-alcoholic beverages. Fine. And finally, coming to the specialized form of service, basically you have something which is called as a tray service, which is basically like something which you use in ODCs also. This is something which will be preferred in a aeroplane or else in a train. This is what, and even in a hospital also. So this is something which will be preferred. And the next one is basically a trolley. If it's a smaller food dishes, it's the number of dishes which is there going to be smaller, a tray is preferred. If the number of dishes is going to be more, then they'll be preferably like no, you'll be preferably using something which is called as a trolley. Home deliveries now with the uh, promotion of Zomato and all this Swiggy and other things, this has taken up a big role. Okay, or else also like the previously people used to provide home deliveries also, especially like now all these pizza places like now all these Domino's, Pizza Huts, they are like no a unique selling point. USP was like no they can do home delivery. Lounges is basically a place where you can sit and relax. It is basically in hotel. Lounge is a place where where your front office is. Okay, where you can interact with people, and even in some very high class five-star hotels they'll provide food and beverages there also. Okay, and the next one is rooms. Yes, room service, especially in hotels, from a smaller category hotel to a five-star or a five-star deluxe property, you get a different kind of options which is available when it comes to room service. Okay, drive-ins is a very different concept. Basically drive-ins are like something like theaters where there might be a movie which is be playing out. You can go park your car, there'll be a person who will be coming and taking order, he will be served whatever food is required from your table, right? And so that is the end of the session. So hopefully like this session was very useful and informative for you. Thank you.